on, folks? So over here today, we're going to talk about food, diet. What does it do for ADHD? How does it affect ADHD? Does it help? Does it not help? All the above. Research is showing tremendously that what we eat really affects how our body acts, what it does, what it doesn't do, what it should do, that it doesn't do, etc., etc. So it is really important. That phrase, you are what you eat, is truly, truly important, and one that we should take seriously. So we're going to do a little deep dive today in terms of food and how it affects our body and how it affects our brain. And most importantly, if we're not eating too good, how much of a negative impact that's going to have on our ADHD. You'd be surprised. So stick around. I'm going to try to make this short and concise. And let's do some learning, shall we? Let's get going. Now, high energy requirement tissues such as the brain are highly dependent on mitochondria. Mitochondria are intracellular organelles deriving and storing energy through the respiratory chain by oxidative phosphorylation. In a single neuron, hundreds of thousands of mitochondria are contained. I can see some of you rolling your eyes as to, I haven't studied this since the high school days. Well, it's time to do a little refreshing. Because mitochondria is really important, especially in the body and in the brain. Now, let's see what happens when a mitochondria isn't functioning too well. When mitochondria are not functioning well, a wide variety of symptoms can emerge, including the following. I've underlined the terms here that have to do with ADHD and that I've seen in my ADHD research and the people I've worked with. First on the list, we have developmental delay or regression. Now, research has shown that those of us with ADHD are about 3 to 5 years behind our contemporaries, i.e. the neurotypicals, people without ADHD. In school. Next point, language impairment. There is certainly an issue with some of us with ADHD when it comes to speaking. Now, social impairment, a common ADHD trait. And we have intellectual disability, which some of us with ADHD unfortunately have. Then we have neuropsychiatric symptoms, which include the also infamous ADHD, anxiety, which a lot of people with ADHD suffer from, OCD, another comorbid issue that comes for some people with ADHD, and depression, which is a hallmark for quite a bit of people with ADHD, especially in the inattentive ADHD field. Because research has shown that those who have inattentive ADHD have the highest rate of suicide. Unfortunately. That's not to say that the other two subtypes, the hyperactives and combined types, don't suffer from depression. Having ADHD is really tough. It can certainly cause depression for any subtype of ADHD. Moving along, we see seizures, headaches, and hearing impairment. Since our brain is highly dependent on mitochondria for the juice, so to speak, for energy and for its functions, we need to help our brain out, especially if we have ADHD, because we could be making our ADHD a whole lot worse. So how do we assist in helping out mitochondria? Let's take a gander, shall we? How to improve/increase mitochondria? Number 1, eating nutrient-dense whole foods. Now, this should include avoiding refined sugars, processed flours, industrial oils, and trans fat. Why? Because they can damage your mitochondria and prevent them from properly producing energy. It is recommended to avoid gluten, soy, and dairy in order to obtain optimal mitochondrial health. Easier said than done, but it is possible. Step 2, exercise. Exercise is highly important. You got to keep in mind, folks, our ancestors were not just sitting on down a computer all day in a room. They were out and about, so we still need to do that as well. It doesn't have to be for hours. A simple 30 to 45 minutes, a couple of days a week of cardio and other types of exercise will do your brain and body wonders and will help out your ADHD. So, step 3, we have caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. I practice intermittent fasting myself due to the keto diet. Then we see step 4, taking NADH. Now, NADH is a supplement that I tried out when I was looking for a supplement to help me out with norepinephrine and with dopamine, the catecholamine neurotransmitters, if you will. So it's a good supplement. I just found N-acetyltyrosine a bit more helpful. So, but some people seem to find help with taking NADH, so it's recommended. And step 5, ketogenic dieting. I practice the keto diet, like I mentioned, and it is not that difficult of a diet to do. In the first stages, it's a little troubling, but once you get into it, you're gonna feel so good that things are gonna come a lot more smoothly, if you will. So, moving on. We see number 6, B vitamins. Now here's where some of the supplements and vitamins start coming in. B vitamins are absolutely important for various reasons, and we don't get enough of that. So, out of all the B vitamins, I would recommend, if you have ADHD, I would recommend a vitamin B12, a methyl form of B12. We will get into methylation right after this portion. Number 7, we see our good friend CoQ10, coenzyme 10, ubiquinol. Very helpful supplement for keeping your heart on check and safe, and various other advantages. Our body makes coenzyme 10, but the older we get, the less of it we make. And if you're taking stimulant medication and want to keep your heart and blood pressure safe and stop it from rising, what's recommended is coenzyme 10. Remember to speak to your healthcare professional before trying out supplements, just to be on the safe side. Number 8, magnesium. Magnesium, really helpful for digestion. The most recommended form of magnesium, the most bioactive form of magnesium that is recommended is chelated buffered magnesium. So, magnesium is great. It helps the body digest food and digest the medication and various other helpful components. Then we see number 9, we have carnitine and the infamous alpha lipoic acid. Now, I tried carnitine for a while. I didn't see the benefits in myself, but I have worked with a few people who say that carnitine is quite helpful for them. And our alpha lipoic acid is really helpful for acetylcholine levels, which research has shown people with ADHD have low levels of. So then we see creatine is also recommended. Creatine is a great supplement to take when you work out, rather before you work out. And the most bioactive type of creatine is creatine monohydrate. And then we see number 11, N-acetylcysteine. And then we see number 12, ginkgo biloba. So it's interesting to know how many supplements are recommended in terms of helping out your mitochondria. So for those of us who already take supplements and take quite a bit of these supplements, our mitochondria is already getting helped out. So self-high five to you and to me. So for those of us who don't take supplements and don't know really where to start, I have a couple of videos on supplements that you might want to check out. I have a supplement regimen and a routine that I take daily that helps me out with my ADHD. And some of you are probably wondering, well, what if it's a lot and I don't know what to start out with? Well, there's some supplements that are recommended to start off with that are more so the all-in-one types. A supplement by the name of grapeseed extract. That grapeseed extract is a oligomeric polyphenol. It is a helpful agent against fighting oxidation. It is one of the strongest antioxidants out there. And interestingly enough, it helps boost multiple neurotransmitters that people with ADHD have trouble with. It helps boost up dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, and a little bit of adrenaline as well. So in that instance, the only thing that's missing is acetylcholine out of the core neurotransmitters of difficulty with ADHD. So grapeseed extract is a good OPC to start out with. And there's a whole book about it as well that you might want to research out there if you want to try out OPCs for ADHD. Because it's interesting. Who would have thought that antioxidants would have been quite helpful for ADHD? So that might be something to try out. Maybe not. Maybe so. So, going back to what we were talking about, supplemental usage for mitochondria health and for ADHD health is crucial and very important if we want to get our brain having the proper amount of energy and being able to take in the nutrients that it needs.